Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Chiefly Football Podcast. I'm the underqualified host, Kinloch. Dave is with me once again, and it's always great to have him on. But this week, our third host, Markus, is making his season debut. It's great to have you back, Markus. Are you ready to chalk Chiefs again? Or are you still locked in on the Royals?
Great to be back. Already done with the Royals.
All right. Well, we're really excited to have Markus on today. He's been our insider for the first three seasons of Chiefly Football, and we get to bring him on today to share with us his experience when he went to the Chiefs FanFest over the weekend, and you got to listen to each of the draft picks and some of their remarks when asked questions, and got to talk to Kimble Anders, former Chiefs fullback. And then got to get some nice details from Steve Spagnuolo regarding our defense and how he felt the Chiefs addressed the defensive side of the ball and kind of how excited he was. So Markus, Dave and I talked about it after the draft, and we kind of just looking at which way the Brett Veach and the Chiefs went with the draft, and it was clear that the focus was on the defensive side of the ball, especially early. And I'm sure Chiefs fans expected that for the most part. The defense has always been the weakness since we got Patrick Mahomes. So besides wide receiver and people being concerned about Tyreek Hill leaving, I think it was clear that the Chiefs were going to focus heavily on the defensive part of the draft. But we also talked about how kind of the characteristics of a lot of these players, there's a common theme, and you got to listen to Steve Spagnuolo talk, and I'm just kind of curious on what you heard from him and what his insight was that he might not be talking to the media about.
Absolutely. I tell you, Coach Spags was exciting. It was great to listen to him. He was being interviewed by Mitch Holthus, as were all the Chiefs coordinators. But one of the things that Coach Spags talked about was he wanted to increase the tackling and the speed on the defensive side of the ball. And if you take a look at the 7 of the 10 draft picks that the Chiefs had, 7 of them on defense, all of them are above average speed for the position they play. So what's exciting about that, they addressed both things that they were looking for, tackling and speed. And it was really neat because Spags said when you know that you can tackle and stop the ball once you make contact, it opens up many other things on the defense. Whereas in the past, we were always bottom third in yards after contact allowed by the defense. This year's edition is going to be pretty exciting. And I tell you that the 2 picks that I'm really excited about, the safety, Brian Cook from Cincinnati. He looks like Ronnie Lott on his videos to me. And then the other is Leo Chanel, linebacker from Wisconsin. We list him as an inside linebacker, but if you really take a look at the tape, he played left outside, right outside, just a tackling machine. And it was so funny during the draft fest. They brought out all of the draft picks, and he just looked like he watched 5 hours of WWF tapes. He was The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold all wrapped into one. He was having the time of his life. So great stuff.
So you got to listen to each of the players kind of address the crowd, and they talked to, I think Mitch Holthus, right, was the one who was kind of leading those conversations. So why don't we start with our first?
He was the MC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How about we start with our first round pick, Trent McDuffie, the cornerback out of University of Washington. What were your thoughts on listening to him?
Trent McDuffie. He was just sharp, and you could tell he gets it. But Trent McDuffie, he's going to be a fan favorite here in Kansas City. Heady football player, high game IQ, and you could tell he just has this presence about him. And when they were interviewing him and then they were showing his highlights, he didn't just cover the man that he was on. He went to go make the tackle. A couple videos that they showed was the USC linebacker or tight end catching it over the middle, and McDuffie would leave his guy to go make the tackle on a guy he wasn't even covering. You don't see that a lot from corners. And he just says, hey, I want to be around the ball at all times. And that's exciting. And the intangibles with him, not a huge guy, but the intangibles with him is he's a playmaker. And I think the Chiefs fans will appreciate how hard he works on his tackling. Great first pick.
Yeah. We're going to be really excited for him. And, he came out of the University of Washington, just like Marcus Peters, but completely different playing styles, where Marcus Peters was running away from tackles and wanted no part of contact, but was, the ball hawk who's always taking risks to get interceptions. Not quite what you're getting from McDuffie. He's going to go put his nose in there and make a hit. The interceptions probably won't be there the same way, but he's still great in coverage, and so he's gonna be a great addition, and and goes along with kind of the theme that they're trying to to establish there on the defensive side of the ball.
Young and fast.
Yeah. So then our second first round pick, they're at pick 30. It sounds like from the rookie minicamp, he's kind of been the one that's stood out the most. George Karlaftis, the defensive end from Purdue. From what I've seen, he seemed kind of a more quiet guy. Didn't necessarily have a ton of, wasn't like super comfortable necessarily just putting himself out there. But what were the thoughts that you had when you were listening to him?
He looked like he was very cerebral, taking it in, very quiet, where Leo Chanel was just animated and crowd loving and engaging. Greek Freak was more, he looked more like a student of the game. And when Mitch asked him questions, his answers were very direct, but you could tell well thought out. Good student of the game, excellent tackler. The knock on him is short arms. Can he break the containment for the left tackle and possibly if he's getting chipped by the tight end? But all the tape that we saw, the interactions we saw, he's more than up for the task. And he's going to be a good player, not a rah-rah guy at all. But he's one of those typical Big Ten guys that's going to bring a lunch pail, go to work, not a lot of glitz and glam, but he's going to come to work and handle his business. And I think he is a solid first round pick.
Yeah, it should be great that he should be able to contribute right away, which is one of the things you're looking for in a first round pick. Especially, a cerebral guy who's a student of the game, like you mentioned, he should be able to pick up the defense pretty quickly. And when he was at Purdue, he was the stud on the defensive line. And so he was getting double teamed and, schemed away from a lot of the time. And with Chris Jones on the defensive line and Frank Clark, and we'll see who else they bring in from pass rushing for some pass rushing help. But, he's not going to be facing that kind of attention. So, there's some other reasons to be optimistic about him being able to contribute to the defense early.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be a good one. And, I tell you, the Sky Moore pick at wide receiver was good, but I want to stick on the defense just a little bit. Brian Cook's going to be a fan favorite. Him and Leo were phenomenal on Draft Fest Day. Engaged with the crowd, loved Chiefs Kingdom, doing the tomahawk chop like they've been doing it since they were kids. It was so exciting. And then when I talked to Brian, he said, I want to maul people. I'm a hitter. I'll defend the pass if I have to. I'll crush you when I get to. And that was exciting because in years past, Chief safeties have not been known as hitters. They haven't even really been known as good tacklers. This kid, it was so awesome. His coach at Cincinnati said, I don't think he missed a tackle all year. That's amazing. And the highlights that they showed on this guy at Draft Fest, he was laying guys out, cleats up. And Chiefs fans are going to really like him back there. And he looks, just in street clothes, he looks like a middleweight boxer. Just thick shoulders, strong back, and just looks like he can tee off and kill somebody. And he's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see him in that backfield because, I loved what he said at Draft Fest. Hey, corners cover, I hit. They know their job. I know mine. And so that was so fun to hear that. And, and to find guys on the defensive side, Coach Spag said it a couple times at Draft Fest. He goes, tackling's want to. We can teach technique and all that, but you've got to want to tackle somebody. And the poster kid of this draft is Brian Cook. He wants to tackle people. He can't wait to smash them. And I think for a team that hasn't had much defensive identity in 15 years, this kid may bring a little heat from the backfield. You're not going to want to go over the middle with this guy. That's one of the things that I noticed when Spags' face just lit up. He said, I can't believe this guy was there in the third round. Look at his numbers. Look at his presence. And he just exuded confidence. And as a fan, it's got to excite you. Got to excite you.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm looking forward to the most, I mean, you talk about both Brian Cook and Leo Chanel. I mean, they both are looking to kill people, with their physicality on defense. And they're both fast. They're both, especially on a straight line, they're going to make a big impact, literally.
Absolutely. And Chanel nailed it. He said, it's controlled chaos out there when I hit the football field. It's controlled chaos. I'm going to bring brutality and chaos. And he said, this is football. And I love hitting people. And you couple that at linebacker with the new safety, Brian Cook behind him, you're not going to want to go over the middle on the Chiefs. When's the last time we said that? Right? Years. And this is going to be a fun team to watch defensively, whereas in the past, we'd kind of roll our eyes when the defense took the field, maybe go make a sandwich, waiting for Patty Mack to get back on the field. This defense is going to be fun to watch. And those kids are going to make that happen. And you could just see in Spagnuolo's face, he was so excited. I've got tacklers, I got athletes, and I got guys with high football IQ. That's what he's looking for. So great pickups by the Chiefs. And, it's easy for fans to get excited when they're in shorts and shells, but man, these guys just get it. And they look, I tell you one last thing, they look like the positions they play, if that makes sense. When you look at them, okay, yeah, he's a linebacker. Oh, yeah, he's a D end. Yeah, and they just fit the prototype model. And it was just good job by Brett Veach.
Yeah. One of the things, Markus, you mentioned when we were talking previously that impressed you about Chanel, and I guess kind of excited the fan base. Share a little bit about what the reaction was and what Chanel had to say. I guess they showed a clip of him decleating a Michigan back or something.
Yes. Yeah. That got the crowd screaming. There's about 10,000 people at Draft Fest, and the place just roared when they showed a couple Chanel highlights, and he just leveled this Michigan running back. And he said, I tried to kill him. I got mad when the kid got up. Put the pads back on, let's do it again. And just that ferociousness. And he's such a lovable giant. But he plays at Mach 9. And I tell you, he got the crowd so excited when they showed a couple of his clips and just him going, yeah, this is what I was trying to do here. This is what I was thinking here. And just his ability to interact with the fan base. But again, all of these kids, their football IQ showed, and their interactions with each other, their interactions with the fan base, just a whole understanding of, hey guys, real simple. You're brought here to tackle, be fast, right? You don't have to be the team. Just be a good half. You don't have to carry the team, but together, right? This defense should be better than anyone we've had. And every single one of them said they watched Patrick Mahomes and this offense and wanted to join it. That was something else that was exciting. All of these kids said that. Leo Chanel said, I would sit in my dorm room in Wisconsin and just say, man, I'd love to play for the Chiefs. I'd help them with that defense. We'd win multiple Super Bowls. And it's like, man, that excitement, that exuberance, that, hey, there's a job to do here. The offense is good. Defense just don't lag behind. And every single kid got it. So exciting.
So Markus, another question for you is Chanel going to be content as a linebacker sitting on the sidelines? Or
No.
does he have expectations, or how does he feel about playing special teams?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Dave Tope, the special teams coordinator, was interviewed, and he said, here in Kansas City, everybody's on the special teams unit until we say they're not. And right now, only Patrick Mahomes is not on special teams. And Chanel goes, I'm okay with that, coach. Just point me in the direction to kill somebody and I'll go do it. And it's that attitude of, hey, I just want to play football. And he even mentioned it. He goes, when the ball is in the field of play, I want to be on the field with it. Be it special teams, I'll line up at linebacker, I'll line up at right D end, left D end. I'll line up wherever they want. My job is to wreak havoc and get in that backfield. And he was so believable. People were cheering. They were like, this kid's half crazy, but we loved it. And, when he led the crowd in the tomahawk chop, and you could just see the fire. And he gave his, what I call WWE moment, where he gave the Rock type speech when he had the mic. And he just nailed it. He goes, guys, there's nothing better. He goes, I can't wait until I run out on the field and hear 80,000 screaming fans with one goal in mind, to win a Super Bowl. You don't hear that from rookies. You just don't. And especially young guy. Hey, I'll play special. I can't wait to play special teams. I can't wait to play linebacker, D. You don't hear that. But I think his versatility and his attitude and he's going to be a hit here. And it may be a Chiefs jersey we end up buying. I know Mahomes is the number one selling jersey, but I think Leo Chanel is going to be right behind there between him and Kelsey for number 2. This kid's going to be a fan favorite.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a really exciting pairing with him and Spagnuolo and Brian Cook too. I mean, Spags loves to bring blitzes, extra men to bring pressure. And before it was, Dan Sorensen and Ben Neiman trying to get through the offensive line and then just getting stuck on a guard or something, or Sorensen has to go all the way around the tight end to try to make a play, and he's 3 steps too slow, especially towards the end. So, having the speed that both of them have and the physicality, I mean, he'll blow offensive guards up.
Yes.
Going through the middle. And Brian Cook's just as ready to ram one of those big boys. Like, he's not afraid. And he's got the speed and the strength to do it. So, I mean, Spags has got to be super excited just because of all the different looks that he can give quarterbacks now. And he has the players with the skill set to actually execute it. Whereas the last couple of years, those players were older or just not as athletic. So now he's got players that better fit exactly what he wants to do and can execute it. So that, he's got to be psyched for this defense. And Chanel, I mean, I think a lot of people, scouts were talking about how maybe his coverage, was lacking, and kind of his lateral movement when he was asked to drop back. But in this defense with Spags using him often to bring pressure, I mean, it's going to play perfectly to his skill set. And, he's going to put in those he's going to be given those opportunities to become the fan favorite, to blitz a lot, because he's with a defensive coordinator that's going to use him that way.
Oh, absolutely. And Spags looked like a kid at Christmas. And he sees those opportunities, right? We won't have Dan Sorensen running 20 yards back right before the snap anymore. I mean, these kids are versatile. They're fast. They're tacklers. It's going to be great stuff. Just exciting. But I do have some bombshell news.
Okay, hit us with it.
Drum roll. Two names that kept popping up in the free agent discussion. Bradbury, the corner from the Giants, has been in contact with the Chiefs. Chiefs are looking to bring him in. Great cover corner that would team well with McDuffie, and it would allow our linebackers and safeties to blitz more, right? Because you'd actually have two great cover corners. The other name that excited me, and I almost fell down when I heard it. Brad Veach normally doesn't go after 30 or older free agents, but there is interest in Ndamukong Suh. Okay. And that was going around FanFest and off the record discussions. The pairing of Ndamukong Suh and Chris Jones on the inside. Oh my. Everybody was getting giddy about that. A couple Chiefs officials I talked to did not deny the rumor at all or discussion points at all that Ndamukong Suh was on the radar screen. Jadeveon Clowney is not, due to the Greek freak and so forth, where they're not going to spend their money there, but they would love to bolster up the interior of the defensive line. So watch movement on Bradbury and Ndamukong Suh here in the next week or two.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Getting that second shutdown corner would be huge. Also, Fenton had shoulder surgery in March. So he's going to be limited. He should be fine by the start of the season, but the Chiefs do want to get another cornerback. That's why they drafted a couple guys later in the draft with their 6th and 8th pick. They got corners. But if they can get another Pro Bowl caliber corner out of like Bradbury to solidify that corner spot, that will free up the safeties and the linebackers to add more pressure. That's going to be the key this year, right? Pressuring the quarterback. They were 26th in the league in sacks. They want to get more pressure on the quarterbacks and they want to tackle better. Well, Ndamukong Suh and Chris Jones on the inside would do that. So,
yeah, that would be huge, and especially like Bradbury, because that would enable you to move Snead back to the slot where. I mean, he can use his length and athleticism to guard tight ends, which, I mean, tight ends are lining up in the slot now more than ever. And then just we've seen how effective he's been blitzing from the slot and creating pressures. And that just gives Spagnuolo another piece to use on the defensive side of the ball. So having Bradbury to fill that outside corner position across from McDuffie would be awesome. So
absolutely. Oh, and we heard Melvin Ingram. They're targeting him as well to be the weak side outside rush person. So they loved what he did last year, and they're trying to. The reason that signing hasn't been announced yet, they're still trying to fit Ndamukong Suh and Bradbury under the cap, see what they're doing next. So you'll see a lot of movement here in the next week to 10 days on that front.
Good stuff.
Awesome. That's great stuff, Markus. Thank you for bringing your insight and, being the insider for Chiefly football, bringing the breaking news things that, most of these guys aren't hearing. And, I haven't heard half of this stuff reported yet. So
here to serve
to get this out there. So everybody, thank you for tuning into Chiefly football. Before we go, Markus, I just wanted to hear you tell the story of, meeting Kimble Anders and kind of your experience with him, because it sounds like you built quite the relationship with him over a short period of time.
Oh, he was awesome. He was standing there by himself. Nobody knew who he was. And so I just looked over and I go, hey, that's Kimble. I had no idea what Kimble. And for you young guys in our audience, Kimble Anders was a fullback / halfback in the early 90s Chiefs teams. And he played in the 93 AFC Championship game that we lost to Buffalo. Number 38. Loved Kimble. Hard bruising back from South Texas. Just loved this kid. Always have. Well, he's standing there by himself. So I just walk up, start chatting with him. We take some pictures. We're talking football. Life is good. And I heard whispers all around us. Hey, who's that guy? Why is he standing there? Well, when we started talking, I didn't know Kimble was going into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Had no idea. I just saw him standing there and I'm like, okay. Because, they've had Tamba Hali was there and, they had other players or previous players. So I just thought Kimble was one of them. And so anyway, we're chatting and doing our thing. And Clark Hunt comes over and says, hey, I've got to borrow this guy real quick. He's got to go on stage. He's going to the Chiefs Ring of Honor. And I'm just floored. They put the jersey on him, and he was just beaming. And he couldn't have been nicer. Just a gentleman through and through from Texas. He had that Texas draw, and he was awesome. And then when Clark Hunt came over, it was just so cool. And it shook our hands, and, we exchanged pleasantries and so forth. But you could tell in Kimble's eyes, it was such an honor for him. And he was so nice to me. He goes, man, thanks for recognizing me. That means a lot. And I'm like, hey, I'm just a putz out here, right? I'm just a Chiefs fan. You're the Chiefs Ring of Honor recipient. And he goes, no, man, it felt good because I was standing here for a while and wondering what I was doing here, and just humble as can be, just great people. And so towards the end, they said, hey, we got to take him, but he'll be back. And so, they took him off, went on stage, and when he was done, 90 other people crashed the fence barrier, acted like they knew him. So that was, I was like, really, people? But it was so cool that he finally got inducted, because Dave, you can attest to this. He was power, speed, blocking. I mean, that guy was a total package, and so much fun to watch. And I know Markus Allen got all the press at that time, and rightfully so. But man, it was just a joy to watch Kimble play football. And after spending about 10, 15 minutes with him, it was just so good. I mean, he was so humble, and you could tell he was just so honored to be there, and he loved Chiefs Kingdom. And I told him, I said, man, I've been a fan since you came up, and after talking to you, you're even a better man than a football player that I remember. And I said, man, you're special. Good luck to you. And you've earned everything you accomplished. And just a great exchange with him. And he's going to be banging the drum here, and when he's inducted in the Ring of Honor, they're going to announce the game, and we're going to be there, because you root for guys like Kimble Anders. I can't say enough great things about him. Just great people.
Well, we'll definitely have to be there. You'll probably get a better seat than the rest of us, but we'll have to go out there and make sure we're there to celebrate that, because Kimble was a stud.
Yes.
I mean, he was doing everything. Catching the ball out of the backfield. He was, like you said, he was blocking for Markus. He was blocking for Tony Richardson when Tony originally was, had been moved to halfback. So yeah, he was a mainstay in the Marty offense.
And could catch out of the backfield. That was an underrated talent of his. And I tell you what was really cool, when you looked at him, he looked like he could still play. Just totally buffed out, and just nutrition's big for him. He said, he goes, I eat right, get enough sleep. And yeah, there's times I'd love to still play, but he goes, I'm too old now. And I said, hey, now you look like, if you could run it all, you look like you could hit people. And he laughed. He said, that was the one part of the game I loved. And he said, the NFL has changed a little bit now from where it was, 20, 30 years ago. He goes, offensive players were allowed to hit defensive players. And he goes, due to injuries, they've changed a lot of those rules, crackback block, blindside hits and stuff. And he said, that's, obviously player safety is first, but he said it takes the element out of the game where offensive players can hit defensive players, right? Do a little payback. And they've taken that away, and you could just, his eyes just lit up when he, was explaining that. And I was like, man, I just miss, that love to hit, want to destroy mentality. But I guess we got it now with Chanel, and so I can't complain in Greek Freak. But this is going to be a fun year. We don't have to watch that slow, confused defense. That's what's exciting. So I'm looking forward to a great year, and looking forward to getting out there to see Kimble get enshrined in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. Well deserved. And Kimble, if you're listening, you touched an old man's heart that day. Just be out there with my 38 jersey. We'll be there.
Awesome. Well, you got me fired up for these rookies, and I'm gonna go look at some highlights of Kimble Anders because I had no idea who he was before you guys told that story. So I'm sure there's gonna be a random player that I see in 30 years that nobody's gonna ever, or my kids won't recognize or know of. So
youngins.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Markus, for joining us today and bringing your insight. It's great to have you on.
Dave, appreciate you guys.
Dave, thanks for joining me. We're going to start rolling out with, I think we're going to do a couple more podcasts more frequently and just keep them a little bit shorter so we can do maybe a more detailed dive into some of the things that come up, whether it's new players or just activities that are going on right now. Mini camp is just finished, the rookie mini camp, and then OTA starting in a couple weeks. So we're gonna be able to see a lot of these players and with the rest of the team. So that's gonna be really exciting. Thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Chiefly Football. Signing off for Dave and Markus, I'm Kinloch, and we'll talk at you guys later.